we are in it to win it. So for any of you who don't know me, my name is Mara Riapal. I like to keep my introductions pretty short because it drives me nuts when I go to events and they spend the first 25 minutes talking about whatever housekeeping items. So if you can relate to that, drop a little like, yeah, let's get on with it. Love the directness. Okay, so I am a business coach for online entrepreneurs. I usually focus solely on coaches, sometimes some service-based entrepreneurs. And basically what I'm hearing over and over and over is, hey, like I'm putting all this content out there, I'm showing up consistently, I'm making offers, and I'm still hearing crickets in my business, and it's driving me crazy. And so often what happens is it's a messaging issue. It's like we're not finding the magic words to pull in and attract and convert our ideal clients. So today, my goal is just to kind of break that down a little bit for you, make it seem like it's not actually rocket science or magic, and give you kind of like the steps of how you can go out and actually find out what words are going to resonate best with your ideal client. So just as we're kind of getting started here, I would love to know who your ideal client is. Hey, Darcy, I just saw you said hello. So let me know who your ideal client is so I can get a better feel for it. And then we're going to kind of go from there. I also had a bunch of you answer the questions coming into the Facebook group, which was awesome. And when you registered for the class, which is awesome because it gives me so much insight into what you guys are actually struggling with. So definitely, I'm going to pull some of that up. So let me just start with the most obvious piece, which is who is your ideal client, right? This is going to sound really like basic, but bear with me because a lot of the time we gloss over the basic foundations with this kind of stuff in our marketing. And then we end up building out all these fancy, funnels or these fancy websites. And we haven't actually gotten super clear on the foundational pieces, like who is your ideal client? So let's start. So this, I want to talk about, oh, you can't see the green. Perfect. I guess I'm going straight to black. Can you see that? Yeah, good. Okay, the woman who feels a shift needs to happen, but unsure the change needed. They want to feel happier, more at ease in their daily life, pivot easier, and live a more aligned life of what lights them up. Okay, that's a great starting point. So what I want to do today is talk about how we start from kind of like a general idea of who we want to talk to, and then we eventually have to like, what's the right word? Nail it down. Like we have to refine it to a point where we actually know exactly who we're going after. Hey, Darcy. So this is one of the hardest parts about marketing, which is deciding who your ideal client is, and then going out and talking to enough of hers that you actually get super clear on what she is struggling with or the words that she's using to describe what she's going through, because those are the words that you're going to hook her in with. I mean that in terms of like a marketing term for like having a hook. So that's your topics for your events. It's your email subject lines. It's the start of your captions on social media. The hooks are really important because it's what lets you cut through all the noise, right? So that obviously that would make sense, but it's again, something that we all gloss over. So when we're talking about who, it's not just like who in general, it's like who specifically is your level 10 ideal client. So that's another thing that happens is we kind of speak to our level 6 client often, or we speak to more than one person and nobody can hear us because this is not the 14th century. We can't just like stand up and yell, come one, come all, and listen to what I have to say. Like that's not how it works anymore. When we are online in this day and age, we have like, I think they say 8 seconds max to capture someone's attention. That's why it's so important to be specific with who you actually want to pull in. So this has a little bit to do with you and who you actually want to work with. And then the second part of that is, what does she actually want? Like, what are the words she's using to describe what she needs? I put this in an email the other day that went out to most of you, but there's like an age-old saying in marketing that says you have to sell them what they want in order to give them what they need. So that said another way is like, you are the expert and you know that this person needs, XYZ solution. But if she doesn't know that, because a lot of people don't know what they don't know, then you spend a lot of time convincing her that that's what she needs instead of just going straight after what she says she wants. so that once she's inside of your coaching or your program or your offers, you can deliver what it is that you know she actually needs. So a really like high level example of that would be, a lot of people are chasing weight loss. I mean, all women can kind of relate to either wanting to lose weight or other women wanting to lose weight. So that's an easy one to go after. But it's like people just want to drop 10 pounds or 20 pounds on the scale. That's what they want. And so if you're like, hey, how to lose 20 pounds in 45 days without giving up junk food or something like that, you're going to hook somebody in much quicker than if you say, we need to reduce the inflammation in your gut. We need to get you to a place where you have a different type of routine in your, grocery shopping, or like the things that she actually needs to drop that 20 pounds is not what she's saying she wants. She wants to do it without having to exercise her face off every day and without having to never, have a brownie again or whatever. So see what I mean about the difference between what she actually is looking for and wants to buy versus what she actually needs. So once she's in your program, you can educate her on all the routines and the habits and the grocery shopping and the inflammation that's happening from a lot of foods. But from a surface level hook, you're going to say, hey, you're looking to lose 20 pounds in 45 days without giving up all the things that you love. Like, let's talk. So does that make sense? Is that like okay, cool. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through what we're covering today. So our who is our level 10. So this is what I'm talking about, what she wants. Is this, yeah, this is the right way for you, right? Not backwards? Okay, good. So what she wants, and then what she needs to hear to make a buying decision, which has a lot to do with defining the end result or the transformation or where you're actually taking her. So okay, so the first question to ask with all three of these is, Darcy, I'm going to pick on you because I can actually see you on the camera. How many actual real people have you talked to that are representative of your ideal client that you can honestly tell me like the answer to these three questions? You can unmute if you want to come on.
Okay, how many people have I actually talked to that would be my level 10 client? Is that what you're right? Am I right?
Yeah, totally.
The majority of women, I would say, because my messaging is so broad right now. I feel like every single friend, sister-in-law, everyone I worked with, I don't work there anymore, like everyone.
Yeah, so when it comes to who's going to pay you for your services, this is where it starts to get different, because what we tend to do, especially when we're kind of in the first, beginning stages of business, is we tend to listen to everyone's opinions around us, and then we go try to market to that. But what happens is we quickly find out that those are not the people that are actually pulling out their credit cards. And so that's the difference of why we have to actually start to dial this down into something more specific. Because what would be a great example? I mean, women love to talk about their problems, of course. So it's easy for us to connect on those problems. And it's easy for us, if we're listening, to try to figure out okay, well, how would I put an offer together to solve that person's problem? But when it comes right down to pulling out, if it was a $200 offer or something like that, a lot of people are up for it. But when it comes to, especially when we're charging higher ticket stuff, like 2,000 and above, you have to be a lot more specific about what it is that you're actually going to provide for them and what it is that that person actually wants. Because somebody that wants to complain about their husband but doesn't actually want to do anything about it is not going to invest in a coach that's going to help straighten out their relationship, right? So there's a big difference between somebody who just has the problem that you can solve versus what does she actually want to buy, right? What is she actually looking for versus what she needs. And then Julie and I have this conversation all the time, because I think as women, we love to talk about how we're so busy and so overwhelmed, but it's we then need to narrow down, okay, well, who are the women who actually want to solve that problem in their life versus the ones that just like to complain about it. You know what I mean? And then also one of the things, especially when you're getting to higher ticket offers, I consider high ticket anything that's like $500 a month and over. So if you're doing like a year-long program and you're charging at least $6,000 for it, that would be like $500 a month equivalent. So 500 and up per month is kind of where I'm kind of ballparking this stuff. But when somebody makes a decision to start investing 500 to 1,000 or more per month with you, like you need to have a super specific pain or a super specific desire that you're going to be delivering on, right? So these are just some of the things to start thinking about. And the way that I have found has been the fastest way for my clients to go and find out what their people actually want is to talk to 30 ideal clients. I always say 30 in 30 days. If you really want to run at this is like market research on steroids. And it's kind of scary, especially if you haven't talked to people before. And it takes a little bit of maneuvering to figure out, okay, well, where do I actually find my people and how do I reach out to them? That's something that I have like a script now that everybody kind of massages it for their own voice. But it's the easiest way to do it because out of that 30 people that you talk to, there's usually only going to be like a third of them that you actually have that like awesome chemistry with. So it's almost like hashing out your ideal client. Cause I know you said like, I'm still speaking to people that's so general, but it's also one of those things where we have to stop guessing on who we want to talk to or guessing on who we think will buy from us and go and start talking to real people. And in the market research stage, we actually have to keep it. I'm just going to say this for everybody. I'm not picking on you, Darcy. I'm just going to say this, but when we're in the market research stage, it's super important that you stay in integrity and actually do market research for the sake of market research, as opposed to what a lot of people tend to do, which is they find somebody that they click with and then they try to pitch them. So we have two kinds of people, either the people that are deathly afraid to ever pitch somebody an offer ever, which is fair. And then we also have the other side of people who are like, okay, well, I don't ever want to cold message somebody because I get them all the time and I hate them. And I actually think that a lot of us have been burned before by people that we kind of knew or didn't know, but they kind of like try to trap you in the DMs. So when I teach this to my clients, I just say, listen, like keep market research, true market research. And the way to look at that from like a high level view is if you could talk to 10 or 20 or 30 people that are your ideal clients, now you have the words and the topics and the titles and the subject lines for your emails and the hooks for your social media, all that, all the words, like we're talking about find your words. You have all of that information now to be able to go and market it properly online to other people. And lots of those people will remain in your audience. And so they end up being kind of warm leads and some of them will end up working with you. And sometimes in that process, they will ask you, hey, like, what would it look like to work with you? Like, I think this is great. This has happened to me multiple times. But that's not a strategy that I'm using to go out and get clients. It's a strategy that I use to find the words to attract the right clients. So just make sure that even if you're going out to do this market research and somebody asks, like, what would it look like to work with you? I always say have easy yes offers in your back pocket just so that you could, roll something off your tongue, but also so that you could say, hey, if you'd like to set up a separate time to talk, so we have like enough time to look at how I could actually help you. We can definitely do that. I definitely wanted to keep this like a market research call. This was definitely not meant to be a pitch. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people be like, hey, like, thank you for saying that. And thank you for being such a real person. And thank you for actually following through with what you said you wanted instead of bait and switching, which people hate and they see coming from a mile away. Is this all making sense? Oh, you're muted again if you want to talk.
Oh, yes, definitely. Because I'm getting bombarded by business coaches and it's the same tagline. I feel like you'd be a great fit for my program. I'm like, no, you don't even know me. You just said that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm getting pitched like multiple times a day too, especially by like VAs and stuff. They're like, hey, have you thought about adding personal personal appointment setters? And I'm like, you haven't even asked me if I'm filling an offer right now. Like, you got to get to know me and what's going on with me. So one of the things I actually say something similar in terms of like, I think you'd be a good fit, but I say something like, I think what is the one that we've been using lately? I have team members that help me with the initial reach outs. And then once people get back to me, then I jump in with voice. I just love to voice note people because it just makes you so real. but it's like, you seem like you're similar to my ideal client. I would love to pick your brain about a specific masterclass that I have coming up, just to make sure that I'm giving the right value. And then I can even say like, and the topic is blah, 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 blah. So it kind of leads them so that they know that I'm not full of shit, basically. And then I'm just going to say this once again, just in case anybody didn't catch it at the beginning, but like, it's so important to actually stick to the market research and the questions and the kibitzing back and forth, as opposed to trying to pitch that person, because this is very different than cold outreach where you're trying to pitch somebody. I don't do that at all in my business. I think it's sleazy and slimy, and I think people hate it, especially if you don't know them. It's different if you're like, hey, I know we chatted about this last month and you said you're struggling with, I have a free event coming up. Let me know if you want the details. I'll send you the link to register. That's very different reach out than, hey, I think you'd be perfect for my program. Let me know if you want to chat about it and sign up here. And you're like, what? Anyway, so hopefully that's helpful. Hey, Carrie, I saw you hopped in, and Jen, if you want to hop in with your cameras on, then I'm happy to kind of dive into your ideal client a little bit with you too while we're on the call, so that you can kind of get clarity and moving forward with it. But basically what we're doing is we're talking about who your level 10 client really is. And a lot of the times, I'm just going to be honest, like I struggled with this for years. It was something that I couldn't make a decision on. It's almost like I thought that I was going to be leaving money on the table if I went too specific. But what I have found is with marketing, if you go super broad, then nobody hears you. So somebody that signed up, I can't remember, sorry, what your name was when you signed up. But I did see that you're doing, I think it was like event planners, maybe journals and stuff like that. And I said, who's your ideal client? You said anyone. And I would challenge you to just dig into that a little bit more, because that's not really true. First of all, it has to be people that can write and read. And second of all, it's the kind of people that like to write and read. Or if it's like an event planner or like a daily planner, what kind of people are still carrying planners these days versus like just using your iPhone? Like I don't use a planner, so I'm not your ideal client. So anyone doesn't apply. So when we're talking about like, who's my ideal client? There's a couple girls that were in network marketing that came in and said, anyone in their 30s and 40s, or women in their 30s and 40s. Like that's just not an ideal client that you can target with online marketing. So it's a little easier when you're just like at drop off with your kids at school or whatever, because you can kind of filter through people quickly, but you're building rapport and you're in conversation, and that's a totally different thing than trying to market yourself online to a cold audience who doesn't know you. So you have to become more specific. So like the weight loss people, some people, let's just go back to that example because it's so easy. If you're a health coach and you're trying to target women who want to lose 10 pounds because they just want to like tighten up their Lulus a little bit, you're marketing to a very different crowd than somebody who needs to lose 50 or 60 pounds or is on a 100-pound weight loss journey. Do you know what I mean? So you can't just say like, I'm a weight loss coach and I help anybody. Like that doesn't help you market your business. So what we're talking about today is like, who's your actual level 10 client? Who would you love to work with? Who do you get the best results for? Who loves to take the coaching that you give and run with it? Who can really use whatever it is that you're offering and get awesome results? Because those are the people that you're going to want to work with yourself too, instead of feeling like you're dragging people along or trying to hold their hand. The other thing is that one of my mentors, I would say, is Michelle Vroom. She runs a huge Facebook group called Market Like a Boss. I don't know if you ladies have heard of her before. You're tuning in on your phone. You don't want to make us dizzy as you bounce around. Hey, no worries. Well, feel free if you want to just jump in and ask questions to like unmute and just jump in anytime. But Michelle, so one thing that she was talking about the other day that I just love, she's just so direct with her messaging and her marketing. But she was talking about how if you are feeling like your stuff is not selling, or you feel like you have a lot of different people coming in at a bunch of different points in their life or their business, like phases of their life and their business, then you're not clear with your messaging, which means you're not clear with who your level 10 client is. So Darcy, we can go back to you as an example if you want. The woman or mom who feels a shift needs to happen, but unsure of the change needed. They want to feel happier, more at ease in their daily life, pivot easier, and live more aligned life of what lights them up. So that's like super broad, right? So how can we like, what are the types of problems that you're level 10, not just anybody that you're talking to and all your girlfriends, but like somebody who actually you would love to coach and work with? What would be some examples more specifically of like, they feel like a shift needs to happen because what kind of shit is hitting the fan in their life? Let's start there.
They are burnt out. They are short fused. They are tired, and they likely hate something, whether that's their job, their spouse, their kids, like, you know what I mean? They feel that like irritable hate with something, and it's just happening every day, and definitely burnt out.
So they feel like they're kind of on the hamster wheel and they can't get off.
Yes.
And lots of them probably have mom guilt because they're yelling at their kids, or they're super short tempered, or they don't have time to spend with them.
Yeah. Or the guilt of like, I'm so tired of asking for help, or I feel like I need help, but I don't deserve help. The mom guilt in like maybe two different ways of that as well, of like they ask for help, but they hate asking for help.
Yeah. Or they ask for help and people help them, but they don't do it right. So then they'd rather just do it themselves.
Yes.
I don't know what that would be like. I'm just kidding. Okay, so, but that is, see how that's so much more specific than she feels like a shift needs to happen, but unsure if the change is needed. It's like, you could start to really hone in if you were to go and talk to like 30 in 30 days and just say like, hey, I really want to talk to moms who are feeling burnt out, stressed out, and you can take it in a couple different directions. I don't have time for myself, or I don't have time for my kids the way I want to show up for them, or I just feel like my life is out of control and I need that control back. You know what I mean? Like, you can take that in a few different directions and kind of lead the conversation and then find out what they're saying about it. Otherwise, we just say like, every life coach or mom coach that I've talked to, which I've actually had a few clients lately that are serving a similar audience, but in a different perspective, they're always going after the overwhelmed, burnt out, or stressed out moms. And they usually have like the mom guilt as underlying things, the yelling at their kids, like the short fuse. And this just feeling of like, how does everyone else have this under control and I don't? Right. But
Yeah.
You have to figure out like, how do I pull in the right people out of that pool? Because that is like the big niche of burnt out, stressed out moms. So like, where's your little niche going to be pulling? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that the common thread? Julie will tell you this too. I always am just like, okay, but we got to pull out the common denominator. Like, what's the thread here with all this stuff? And there's always one. You just have to keep digging until you find it. And so when we're trying to message online, it's super important that we go find that thread, because as soon as we do, then all of our topics open back up and we can tie it back into that common thread. But that's our person that can hear us with all these topics. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I have that almost narrowed down too, because I feel like I want to focus on the mom and everything else will trickle behind it. So I won't be geared towards like parenting and kids. It'll just naturally happen. But a relationship with yourself is so important, so that everything else, you have time and space and capacity for everything else.
Okay, so that's perfect, because that's what you know she needs. But now we need to go find out the words of what she's saying about that, because that's what she wants to buy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So do you have any idea about that part of it yet?
No.
Okay, that's perfect. No, this is the thing that I want to point out to everybody today that watches this, whether you're on the replay or live. If you don't know these key pieces of the foundation of your messaging and of your ideal client, that's good, because now we can go and tackle that piece, right? Instead of just glossing over it and being like, well, I'm sure it'll sort itself out or it'll iron itself out in the wash. It's like, no, that's not how this works. We actually have to go talk to those real people. But now you just kind of even narrowed down a little bit more to like, okay, who do I need to go talk to? I need to go talk to, you know, moms that are this kind of overwhelmed, but they want to know like, when did I stop giving a crap about myself or what I deserve? And a lot of the time that's actually just a generational pressure or a generational.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's kind of, society puts that on us anyway. Like, we should be able to just do it all. We should be selfless. We should be all these things. And it's like, Well, what happens when we absolutely burn ourselves out to the ground and then we can't do anything, right? So like, that's not good either. So we need to go find out what your specific level 10 ideal client wants.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to talk to her. Okay, hold on. I got to look at the comments here. Katie's here. Hello, Katie. Oh, no problem. Fantastic training, she says. Yes, most important thing to do before anything else in your business. She's going back to the Facebook stream. Everyone ask your questions. Mary's brilliant at this. She has a gift for helping you find the words to explain what you do. Such a great point. How's the do client talk about their urgent need? Okay, Katie's jumping back out here. I didn't even check Facebook. I guess I should.
Yeah, and I really like what Katie said there, because I've heard that very often here too, is just basically taking their words and repeating it back to them, because oftentimes they're saying all the things and they have a sounding board, but they're not actually hearing it back of like, is this what you need? Because this is what you said. And I feel like the reflection back for some moms are like, holy crap, yes.
Yeah, totally.
So I like that.
I think that's like what I was trying to go for with the essence of like, find the words to nail your message. It's like find the words that she's actually using to describe what she's going through. Because if she reads those, you know how you'll hear all the time, like, how are you in my head? You know, like with clear messaging, like, I can't believe that you actually knew this about me, or like, I feel like you just get me. And in the world of online marketing, if you can get connected, like if somebody can feel connected to you, that is more than half the battle. Because it's a lonely sport out here, this life thing, right? And we're more disconnected all the time in real life. And so if you find somebody online that just gets you and you just like it, like you love what they're putting out, you love listening to them, you always get something from what they're saying, and you feel like they're kind of in your head. Yeah, basically is how it is. The reason that some people will say that is because those girls have taken the time to go do their market research and talk to real people. And that is the biggest difference, honestly. I've noticed it in my own business. I guessed forever. And I listened to like friends and family and what they were struggling with forever. But those were never going to be your ideal clients. Like I always say, your Aunt Shirley and your best friend Kim from grade 9, like it's not that they don't count as people in the world, but they don't count when it comes to the opinions for your business. So I think we really have to stay clear on like putting our CEO or entrepreneur hat on, as opposed to like an employee who can just kind of follow a trail. Because we have to be the detectives and go and figure that stuff out for ourselves. So when it comes to what she wants, we have to go talk to real people. This is like, it is crucial. So if I give you a challenge today to say, hey, go find 3 of your potential ideal clients and message them, and just be like, it could be people you know, but you're going to run out of people because you're probably not going to know 30 ideal clients. Otherwise your business would already be flourishing, right? So what I would do is start to go, and you can start with people you know and just say, hey, I just want to kind of pick a few moms' brains because I'm putting something together in my business. I know that you have mentioned that you've been struggling with XYZ. Like, can I have just a couple minutes? Like, or can we grab like a Zoom coffee or whatever? Like, however you want to run that. But you can also do it by keeping friends and family completely out of it and doing it by DMing people on social media. But it's very important, again, that you say like, hey, I promise I'm not going to pitch you, or I'm not being a salesy, sleazy person. I just really want to make sure that my messaging is clear, or my message is clear, or what the value that I'm providing for my clients is going to be really on point for a masterclass that I have coming up, just whatever it is that you're kind of creating at the moment. And just be honest. And a lot of people will get back to you and be like, yeah, sure, I'd love that. As long as you're not, some of them will even say, as long as you're actually not selling me anything, I'm happy to chat. And so that's what I do. And I have gotten further in my business from talking to real people in like 30 days. I'll do it in like 30, 60, 90-day chunks sometimes, because I have my VA do the initial reach outs. But I have so much data now on exactly what people are saying about what they're struggling with versus what I thought they were needing. You know what I mean? And it makes 100% difference. So one of the girls that I talked to was like, I just felt like I can't find the right words to articulate what I do. So if you feel like that's part of the problem, then that's not necessarily the messaging to your ideal client. That's more like what you're putting in your bio. but it still all kind of lumps into one in the end, because the common thread, the piece that's like the core and the heart, that's the piece you need to nail down so that you can build out everything else. And then you have all your hooks for what the real words are that they're using. Because again, they don't know what they don't know. So you don't want to spend all your time trying to convince somebody of what they need. You just want to sell them what they want. Okay, keep having people jump in. I don't know if it's working to come in. There we go. Okay, so do you guys have any questions? Carrie, did you want to jump in and tell me a little bit about your ideal client? Hi, Sama.
Hey, how are you?
So
Good. I'll come back to you in one sec. Okay, Carrie, go.
so my ideal client is moms, moms as well. Well, and what I'm doing, I just became a certified holistic health and wellness coach. So I am in the process of starting my business.
Yeah.
And my clients are going to be moms that want to be more energized and more confident. You know, oh, sorry, I'm dealing with a little one right now.
Okay.
Do you want me to go to more detail? Is that like good to start?
Tell me anything, because everybody wants more energy and wants to feel more confident.
Right. Hold on one second. Okay. So basically moms with like extreme fatigue, because yes, like you said, like all moms are tired, but like if you've had like chronic fatigue, then you know the difference between just being tired as like a mom and being chronically fatigued. So these are moms with like younger kids that are just chronically fatigued and have tried things, and they're overwhelmed and just don't know which route to take. I am building like a 90-day course program to then take them through all different dimensions of health and wellness that there are, to then hone in on that and get them more energized and more confident. And in the process, they're probably going to lose weight and, feel better and look better.
Okay, so are you focusing on people that are like having like they're getting diagnosed with things, or are you, like, I know you'd stay out of the diagnosis piece, but are you dealing with people that are like starting to feel depressed, or are you dealing, like, we just have to find like one more layer, two more layers deep, that's going to be the common thread there for those women, because like chronic exhaustion, that's the way like a ton of moms feel, because they don't understand the level of exhaustion. Do you know what I mean? So if you're saying, like, I know what you're saying about, there's one thing to just be tired of being tired, but to be like chronically exhausted where you can't even hold your arms up, to do things, or you're literally just running on coffee and you don't even remember the last time you recognized yourself in the mirror. Like, there's just all these different layers of exhaustion. So we got to find like, what's the common thread with the ones that you actually want to target? Like, what would be some words or expressions that they would use that would be in common, that they would identify with right away, versus everybody else that's just a tired mom? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And that, talking about like the research, that's kind of at the point I'm at now, and that's going to be my next week's goals. Because I'm going through like a business. I have business coaches from my school that I'm going through their training right now. And so that's next week to do that research. But like you said, I kind of want to stay out of, like, I want to stay in my scope of practice. And if they're diagnosed or not, like, that's just, that might be one thing. But I'm going to work within my scope of practice. So it's going to be more like, you're running off coffee, those 10-minute naps, like just any moment you get. So those are the first things that come to mind, but I'm still need to reach out to get more of the words to use.
Yeah. And the other thing that just popped in for me is like, it might be that you are working with women who they know that they're so depleted, but they have no interest in going to the doctor to be prescribed anti-anxiety or anti-depression meds. Like, they want to heal themselves holistically. Like, that might be a common thread that might come up for a lot of them, because I think there's a lot of women. Well, I know there are. Everybody, like, I used to be in the health coaching space, so this is kind of an easy topic for me to kind of handle a little bit, but almost all women that you talk to will say that they have some level of depression or anxiety, right? And so it's all about finding the ones who are at a certain point and really want to heal from it. And you have to define what that point is so that you can be talking to that specific person. So if they're at a point where their husband is telling them like, you got to do something, like, this is not okay, this is not healthy, like, it's like borderline intervention just on being exhausted, probably 2 little kids, probably not just one, but maybe just one, depends on the person. Or maybe it's like somebody whose husband works away and they don't have any support around them, they don't have any family around, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to go dig in and find out that what that thread is. But then it's like, they know they have that problem, but now they're like, I don't want to go see the doctor and talk about this because I know they're just going to prescribe me some meds and I'm not interested in that. So that might be like the type of person that you want to go target, because they're going to easily be able to walk into like more of a holistic approach with you and be so grateful that you're just laying out that roadmap for them.
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you. And I am looking forward to going deeper and gaining more of their language to use as I go forward.
And I would just say to everybody, again, the market research piece is something that the majority of people that I've worked with have said, it's always been on my to-do list, right? So like, I'm glad that's in your program next week, because if you skip it, you can't replace that information. And so then we end up guessing and glossing over it. And that's why we end up not clear 5 years later still. So definitely do the market research piece, and not just listening to, again, friends and family, but also listening to, like, specifically find out who your level 10 client is and find out what she wants or how she's describing the problem. And not only that, but it's like, we're easy at just saying like, okay, what's going on with you? And then they'll just complain. But it's just like, at the end of the day, what is it that you actually want to have happen? Or what is it that you want to get out of this situation? And some people will just be like, I just need somebody to listen or to tell me what to do about XYZ, or, you know what I mean? So really dig in when you're doing your market research about what it is that they think that would be a solution for them. I think you're good. Okay, Sama, do you want to go? Do you want to let me know a little bit more about your ideal client?
Yeah, so I'm targeting moms as well,
Yeah.
but I'm targeting moms for the reason when they have children, they sort of lose a piece of them. It's that sort of going into that new role, new identity, and she feels lost and she feels overwhelmed, and she feels like she's getting so many messages from millions of people. Her doctor is saying something, her mom's saying something, her mother-in-law is saying something, her inner voice is saying something, her husband's saying something. If she has a caretaker, her caretaker that's helping her is saying something else. Well, not her, but the baby's caretaker. So she's just feeling really, really overwhelmed, really tired and exhausted, especially if they're breastfeeding. Even if they're not breastfeeding, the other problem is obviously the waking up at night. So it's basically that kind of mom that really wants to sort of find herself amongst this new role that she's playing. So she's lost her identity before she became a mom, is lost. And she wants to be able to be that person again, but she can't because of the new role. Well, she feels she can't because of the new role that she's in and the things that she has to deal with. But it's so hard, by the way, now that you're saying who your ideal client is, I'm describing them, but finding one word or 3 words to describe her. So I guess you can't even say overwhelmed moms, because all the moms are overwhelmed, and it's not that. It's a mom that's particularly lost her identity. She sort of wants to reclaim that identity and find herself again, because she feels not broken, but sort of lost. Yeah. So it's that lost mom.
Okay. I love how all 3 of you have used moms as an example, and they're all overwhelmed. They're all exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that you also said, like, she's in the breastfeeding stage. She's up all night, like, which is similar to Carrie's, but very different, because she's talking about literally being so depleted and exhausted, that she doesn't even know if she's going to be able to survive it, kind of thing, which to me kind of meant more along the lines of like depression, whereas you're talking more about, and Carrie, maybe that's not true about the depression piece, so that's just kind of where I went with it, but like, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but it just sounded like a different avenue you were going down versus like, I've lost my identity and I want to figure out how to reclaim myself in this new role. And
Yeah.
those are going to speak to very different women. The other thing that I think Carrie's kind of reminded me of is, which this again might be off, but just like kind of the way you were describing it made me go like, this is a stay-at-home mom who's absolutely exhausted, but also feels like she doesn't even have any other options. Whereas Sama, yours made me feel like she had like probably a high level career or something before and had this whole separate identity around something so different. And now that she's in this new space where it's very like, it's just expected that we just have babies and just absolutely love the whole experience, and it's la-di-da and it's wonderful, and nobody warns you that you're gonna freaking lose your shit in the middle of the night. You know what I mean?
Nobody.
I'm
Nobody.
pregnant with my fourth, so I get it. Like it's a real struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody does. And I don't know whether they're scared to tell you so that they don't want to sort of put you off having children. And it's not, and this is the beauty of what I want to do. This is how I felt, for instance. And now that I've sort of researched and read so much about motherhood, and if only someone sort of, told you, yes, it is all that, and it's that, and you get to know yourself, and you get to learn more about yourself, and you face your shadows, and actually you didn't know who you were until you become a mother. So it's not about the baby, it's about you, showing you how beautiful it is to have a baby, not for the baby, but you're reborn again, and you learn so much about yourself. And it is actually such a beautiful experience, not because of the baby. Again, a baby is beautiful. They're teaching you a lot of things, that whole experience. But you go back to when you were a child and you were parented and you learn so much about yourself. And this is what I want to help moms realize. Because what the world shows you is, like you said, oh, when you have a baby, it's the most beautiful thing. And it is. But there's so much for you as well to gain from having a baby as a person, as me, Sama, or yourself as Mara. Learning about yourself through motherhood, learning about all those. The journey of motherhood teaches you so much about yourself. That's what I want to say. And if you open your eyes and see those things as they come and see what they're teaching you, rather than being sort of, you're feeling you're drowning in what's happening. If you take a step back and start to think, oh, why is this happening? What is this teaching me? Oh, I can do this. I can manage it, because of all those voices and all those things that are going on. And oh yeah, I know how difficult, people saying things about how difficult it is, or some people saying the opposite, but it's so beautiful. But I know, but isn't it so? And nobody's really validating what you're feeling or teaching you or helping you realize that what you're going through is teaching you a lot about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And you're growing.
I'm glad
You're
this is recorded right now, because you just wrote a ton of copy right there for yourself, and there's an offer sitting right in there in that. It's like a beautiful reframe, or I'm just trying to pull the words that you used, but it's like the lessons that new motherhood is teaching you. And I don't know, there's an offer in there. There's really good stuff right there.
Okay.
So the recording will be up and you can go back and listen to it, and there's awesome stuff right there. But so the next question that I would have for you is, how many of these types of women have you talked to?
So that's just recent. I came across actually what's got an Instagram profile. Her name is, I don't know, Carrie. I'll find out and I'll let you know. if you want by message. Anyway, I came across her profile, and it sort of, I was interested in it. And then she was talking about market research. That's the reason why I'm going back to it, because I heard you talking to Carrie about market research. And she was saying that market research doesn't just come through speaking to family and friends, exactly what you were just saying. You need to actually go and speak to them. You need to go and speak to moms.
Yep.
And find out what they really want. You need to sort of either network, or you call certain moms, maybe through school, you get their numbers, ask them, just like what you did with myself. And that's why I welcomed it, because that's exactly where I was in. I just started doing market research, and I said, oh, okay, Mara's doing the same thing. I'm happy to help. But it literally just happened 3-4 days ago.
Yeah.
I did a business course, and they did say market research, but they didn't really sort of explain to you how to do it. You were thinking, yeah, okay, I can find out. I was doing a lot of Google search, looking at Instagram profiles of moms and what they might be going through, reading stories, trying to find out that words, but never actually sat down and spoke to a mom.
Yeah.
About what I'm doing, and what does she think of this, and what does she really want. And I think, yeah, that is really important. And that's why, like I said, I welcomed your questions.
I love that. I love how this is a perfect example of somebody that I reached out to cold and that just came to one of my events. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like
it just fell into place sort of thing.
Yeah, what a great flow. And I didn't pitch you, right? We were talking about that earlier, before you jumped in, just about the fact that if you're going to go do market research, stay in integrity of the actual market research, and don't cold pitch or switch and bait people, because they can't stand it. Darcy says she sees brand new moms as first-time moms in your future. Yes, for Sama, yes. Is that how you say your name, Sama?
Sama, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Mine's Mara,
Yeah.
and everybody gets it wrong. I'm like, Mara, like
Mara, yeah. Mara, okay. So, like Sarah, great.
Okay, so this is so cool because you have a very similar, seeming to be a similar ideal client than Carrie, but I think Carrie's going to come at it from like the health, the nutrition, a very different side, whereas you're going to come at it more from the
mindset.
Like the mindset. Yours feels a little more woo, maybe. I say that very like loosely, because I always thought that I was such a masculine energy person, because I came from corporate sales, and it was like dog eat dog, the old boys club, like whatever. And then once I got into the online personal growth journey, let's call it, all of a sudden people are like, you're woo, right? And I was like, what? Because I used to think that was a weakness, but now I actually embrace it. I love it. I think that intuition should play a role. And I think what you're describing is somebody's hearing 47,000 opinions from the outside, which is societal pressure, again, just like Darcy was talking about, generational pressure. But then we also have this like inner voice that you mentioned, Sama, where it's like, wait, my intuition, my inner voice, my heart, my soul, who I actually am, is saying, wait a second, this is not, you know what I mean? Like this doesn't make sense. And you can't possibly take advice from all the people that are giving you advice, whether it's happening online, whether it's happening with your mother-in-law, my favorite advice. It is impossible to navigate motherhood without feeling like you're doing something wrong. And that is something that we need to give women permission to step away from, and have more of the empowerment piece and the like from within, you know what I mean? I think a lot of women, like you said, feel very lost in the journey, and all of a sudden feel very alone, because they didn't see this coming. And I mean, how could you ever sum up what motherhood is to people? You can't. There's no way.
No.
It is a ride.
No, it's something that you have to experience to know. Definitely.
Yes. So I would say that I think you have a very good idea of who you're going to be targeting and the type of offer that you're going to put out, but now you need to find out who your level 10 client is specifically, and what's the common thread going to be in terms of the messaging that you can put out to people.
Yeah.
That's a great point to be at. But I love that everybody's like, shoot, yes, I haven't actually talked to real people. And market research, I think, especially because we come from like backgrounds where we go to school and we do market research for papers and stuff like that. Like we think we can go to a library or go to the internet and figure it out. But we actually have the fastest way to do it is to talk to real people, because then you're not guessing. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Now, the next thing is, I think we kind of covered, we got to figure out who your level 10 client is, and then we have to figure out what she wants, which is how, this is why we talk to her. And then we have to figure out, okay, well, what does she actually need to hear to make a buying decision? That's the third part of this. And most of the time, this is where we can get to the trial and error guessing a little bit more. Whereas usually we start here with the guessing. And that's why people spin in circles in their businesses for so long, often years. I know this because I did it myself. So what does somebody need to hear to make a buying decision? That, in other words, just means, what is the end result? What is the goal that you're taking that person to? What is it that they want to achieve or get to? And so for moms, a lot of the time we want to get to a place where we feel like we're in control. We feel more relaxed and at ease. We feel more like ourselves. We feel like we can give the best parts of ourselves to our kids instead of just what's left at the end of the day. And so depending on what angle you're taking with these different moms, that you're going to come at that very differently. So maybe Carrie's coming at it from more of a like nutrition and exercise and routine. I'm just throwing random examples out there. And then maybe Darcy's coming at it from asking for help, setting boundaries, having a clearer schedule, or what, like building with their partner, that relationship differently. And then maybe Sama's coming at it from like a journaling and a meditation practice and a really focusing on listening to that inner voice. You know what I mean? Like you guys can all be coming at this from different angles to serve what seemed at the very beginning like a very similar audience. But now that you're kind of hashing it out, like there's going to be very different people that are going to hear those messages. So I love this stuff. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah. So for me, because I'm a licensed clinical hypnotherapist as well. So I went through 2 years, so a year full of that, sort of the whole diploma and everything. So I'll be talking about the subconscious mind, getting in touch with your inner child, reparenting basically yourself. And exactly what you said. I always thought it was woohoo until someone brought it to my attention. Then you went into it and you studied it and you realized, oh my gosh, there's so much science to back this up. It's not as woo as we think, but that's exactly what it appears to you.
Yes. So maybe that can be part of your messaging too, part of your brand, which is like, I make things that seem woo or spiritual make sense from a scientific point of view because there is so much science to back it, or what, you know what I mean? Like that's just an idea.
I love that. Yeah. And this is the problem, is sometimes you're scared about, not scared, just worried about how to put your messaging. It's that copyright, or how is it that people are going to understand what I'm trying to put across. And what you said, that's really helpful. But not everybody appreciates. I mean, I'm telling you, if my friend, when she was talking to me about hypnotherapy before, no way, until I felt really stuck and I felt my son was such a challenge and I needed to do something to myself instead of sort of put my baggage on him. If I had any, I couldn't really see it much, but I felt like there is something that I needed to do with myself to understand him sort of his psychological way of being at 4 years old. And that's when you start going into the woo, and you realize that you really need to work on yourself. And when you work on yourself, everything changes. Everything.
So hold on, stick with this for a second. In your personal experience, were you the kind of person who just always thought they could figure it out and find a solution if you just kept searching, kept doing, kept whatever? And then what you realized was, by finding hypnotherapy, which at the beginning you thought was nuts and woo-woo and all these things, and they were for fancy foo-foo people. But what you realized was like working on who you are and how you, like, the being side of things instead of the doing side of things actually fixed everything. Like that's a huge piece of your brand message and your story right there.
Yeah, that is, thank you. But that is basically it, Mara. Because I'm someone who loves to research. If my kids now give me anything, they're like, oh my God, how did you find it? And I love research. Just give it to me. I can do it. I was good at research. Tell me something that sounded woo. No. I'm very masculine as well in my energy, especially with work.
Yep.
And I wasn't a touchy-feely person. And that my daughter taught me how to be touchy-feely, not my son. To show that affection that's it. When I went through that hypnotherapy, I started learning about myself and appreciating the different personalities in my life and what they could be adding to me. So you'll see your children as your teachers as well. And
Yeah.
if you don't, and you're stuck and you're confused and, oh my God, what a pain is she, and what a pain is, he's really annoying and she's frustrated and, oh, she wants me to be there. She's so attached. And you're not thinking about, but that's her love language. That's and what is she teaching me? Oh, I'm not a touchy-feely person. Okay, now she's teaching me how to sort of show love and how other people need love in other ways. Me being sort of just doing things by action doesn't show her love because she's got a different love language.
Yeah, she wants quality time, not acts of service.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, and
this is really interesting. So you started off by saying that like through the motherhood journey, like it's like this beautiful reframing of who you actually get to become. And now we've gone into this whole new layer of it's by allowing this like woo side in, or this other side of that you didn't expect. So maybe one of the common threads is going to be women who have always been very masculine energy, get it done, especially at work, blah, blah, had their identity wrapped in that and their success and everything. And then all of a sudden you become a mom, and the same things that brought you success in the past don't bring you success in your present. And so then it's like, it requires this new sense of being instead of doing, which is a huge leap. And so, but you're framing it in a way where you're saying like, allow the motherhood journey to teach these things to you and to pull you into this feminine energy, without losing your identity completely. But now you're like reborn, or like, that's the feeling I'm getting from it. And it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You start even seeing your mom differently. You start seeing your sister or brother or whoever so differently. And that's what motherhood teaches you.
Love that.
But that's not what we always, well, I don't know, but I feel like most moms are just focusing on the children, or the children are causing them so much frustration. And how am I going to be a better parent? And what do I need to do in order to react to this kind of comment? But it all starts here. You really sort of need to reparent yourself. And there's so much that will just come just innately. And even when you listen to those people giving you those parental guidance, you will hear it so differently than when you still haven't worked on yourself.
Yeah, because
so
you're
differently.
able to put space in between it.
Yeah.
So it is the common thread that I keep hearing from you is like learning how to change the being side of things instead of the doing side, and how that's uncomfortable at first, but how it ends up becoming like the best lessons of how to be and end up doing things in the future. But it's like this huge rebirth is the word that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Cool. Rick, I'm excited. That's a great, I keep saying it, but I just know there's like such a great offer in there, like that women are going to be like, oh, like they're going to be so, what's the right word? Grateful that they've stumbled across this, because the way you're already at this place where you're going to be able to connect very easily with people and make them feel like you're inside their head.
Yeah, it's thank you for saying that, because when I want to sit down and say this on camera, I feel like, do people get me? Am I saying it right? I always have those critics, talking to me. Am I putting the message across properly? Is this what I need to say? Again, it's that doing, that keeps coming in.
So what I would say to that is, this is like kind of a little bit more of the mindset side of things, but you're now struggling with, I think you have great messaging already started there. I think that you just need to get out of your head about the way it's going to come across to people. I think you just need to start talking about it more, and then it naturally flows out of you very easily. Okay. Yeah. And the best way, again, to do that is just keep talking to real people, because it literally will just flowing. Oh, Julie's in the house. She says, keep talking and you'll speak into its truth. Yes. Oh. Julie has she went out and did exactly what I suggested and just went and talked to a whole bunch of real people, and then very quickly was like, whoa, I thought I was going to be serving a varied, you know what I mean? Like she got clarity very quickly. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is clarity and confidence to move forward. So exactly what you were just describing to us just now, take that and go talk to 30 people in 30 days who are moms who you think would be kind of similar to maybe high achievers that are now kind of struggling with where they're at because now they're home with a baby for a year and they don't know. And all they're thinking is, maybe I should go back to work. This feels uncomfortable to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That might be a
How
common.
how do you find those people? I mean, I have just a couple now from my circle, but how do you just go into the DMs and try to find them? It's like, where would you don't want to be sort of, spammy.
So if you think you're going to be spammy, then you're going to be spammy, first of all.
Okay.
So make sure that you're like, no, I'm on an exploration mission and I really do want to go connect with other women. And unless you're going to be pitching people, then you don't need to feel bad about reaching out, because social media is a wide open space for us to reach out. So the types of profiles that you're probably going to be seeing, for you, I would probably start with communities where there's already like a following built with that type of person. Like I love to go for moms and stuff like that. I love to go to like Mommy Drinks One and Swears, but that's my crowd, you know what I mean? And then I'll go and I'll see, because there's certain discussions and certain posts that would have my ideal clients would actually like it or resonate with it. Not all of them. And so if you were to go find, a community where they're talking about, staying like the first year at home after being, I'm just trying to think. I'll come up with good ideas and I'll message you. But
Thank you.
There's lots of communities online where you could start to pay attention to the thread of like, okay, well, what type of post would my ideal client actually comment on or like, find this funny or find this relatable? And then you can message privately those people and just be like, hey, I saw you commented on this thing in XYZ the other day. Would love to connect with you. I'm just trying to get, a better handle on what moms who have left corporate, high achievers, or what they're struggling with now that, you're home with a new baby, other than just like the normal getting enough sleep. Would you be open to chatting with me? I'm just trying to get, the words right for an upcoming event that I'm putting together, or for something that I'm writing, like whatever it is that you're actually going to do with that information, just be honest. And most people will be like, yeah, sure, no problem. Love to connect. You know what I mean? It's not really that hard. I actually love hiring a VA to do that initial piece of the reach out, just because then I don't feel personally rejected when people don't respond to me, because I don't even know what happened.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the ways that I protect my energy, because fear of rejection, even though I'm a super confident, aggressive person, I hate it when people don't like me. You know what I mean? And that's how I interpret that. And I know that about myself. So I have my VA do the initial reach out, and then she'll be like, yeah, I reached out to 20 people today. And I'll be like, great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Let me know when they, 4 of them respond or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah, it's like a little cheater piece. But I also did it. I reached out to a lot at first to make sure I had like my voice, and like we can go off of a script, but you really want to make sure that the script is actually you and your voice. So a lot of girls will say like, well, can I have your script? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But you have to rewrite it in your own words for your own ideal client too. So important. Carrie says she loves woo woo. I do too. I'm way more woo than I ever thought. I used to think it was a weakness, and I used to think it was ridiculous. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so sad for so many people that don't have any kind of woo in their life. And I would say that I'm not even that far woo. Julie's probably going to chime in and be like, yeah, right. Darcy says Facebook groups, mummy tribes. Yeah. So, but there's going to be specific ones. Like if you decide that you're coming into, I remember there was a group one time that was like ex-corporate professionals turned stay-at-home moms. Like there are literally groups that are going to be that specific that you can jump into and be like, and it was a lot of like ex-lawyers, accountants, people like that who were like, I just don't even know what to do with myself now that I'm home, but I want to be home, but I've lost my identity is basically what they're saying. So we just have to go find, where are those people hanging out? What would they find? I always go for humor because that's my personality. I like to laugh at stuff. So where do I hang out? And what do I find funny? Like if somebody was trying to target me, that would, mommy drinks wine and swears. There's certain posts in there that I will always laugh at and double click on Instagram. But I won't touch them on Facebook, which is interesting. So you just kind of gotta get a feel for who your person is and then find out where they hang out. Julie says, what about reaching out to moms that are on maternity leave and want something more than the 9 to 5? That is definitely a possibility, but I don't know if that's exactly what you're going for, because you're talking about like identity, right? Sama?
Yeah, I'm looking, it's identity. I mean, to begin with, obviously it's more, there's more the mindset, the feelings, the inner child, somebody who's got a hurt or bruised, whatever, wounded inner child. That's what I want to say. So it's not only the identity, but also other things that you might be going through inside that are obviously affecting you being the mother you want to be, but you don't see it, obviously.
So that's you knowing what she needs, but that's not what she'll identify with up front. So that's like a great example of as the expert, you want to sell her what she needs, which is to fix her inner child or to heal her inner child so that she can, because it's affecting all these other places. But what she's thinking is, why do I feel so unsettled now that I'm home? Julie was just saying, like, some of the Facebook groups that are about maternity leave or wanting like more than the 9 to 5, some of those might have your ideal clients in them. But I definitely think that you need to just make sure you're finding the words of the way she's describing that unsettled feeling inside of her, because that's how you hook with your subject lines and your topics and your events and all that stuff, as opposed to
my own.
You're going to have to educate the crap out of people and convince them that that's what's going on inside of them. Whereas if you just bring that up once they're already in, then they know you, like you, trust you, and they just believe you, right? And then it's like, it's such an easier transition.
Yeah.
So I think that the common thread sounds like they were doers, but they can't seem to figure out how to fix this, whatever this unsettled thing is that's inside. And so they need to learn more how to lean into their own power, their own trust, their own intuition, and heal whatever's going on inside. I think you've got lots to run with there. I think you just need to find the words that she's using to describe how she feels about that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Does anyone else have questions? Julie, do you have anything you want to talk about? Just drop it in. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this again really quickly. The buying decision. This is like, we obviously get to this more when we talk about offers specifically, but I do think it's important to keep it in mind for your messaging as well, just because you need to be clear on the end result and where you're taking somebody. So it's easy for us to say super general things again. Like I used to always say, like, I help women build 6-figure coaching businesses, but really at the end of the day, it's like, what do my ideal clients actually want? They want to fill their one-on-one and group coaching programs. So I help them build an audience quickly that's a targeted audience so that they can find and sign their ideal clients into their coaching stuff. So see how that's such a different message in terms of an end result? Like, I will help you build a target audience so you can fill your one-on-one and group coaching spots, versus I help women build 6-figure businesses. So for years I was like spinning around because I was like, I don't understand why people aren't, understanding what I do. And I have awesome results when I get into a conversation one-on-one with somebody, because they can see the value very quickly. But I couldn't figure out what the words were to articulate that. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a lot more clear. Thanks. But this is what I'm saying. If you want to talk to somebody who spun around in circles for years, just ask me. This was me. I did not know what my end result was. I think it's something that I've struggled with forever. I think it's something that we all struggle with. But I also think that you get to a level and then that becomes your normal, and then you've kind of mastered it, and then you go to the next level. So there's always like the next challenge, but end result or end transformation of where you want to take somebody. So Carrie, like, we can come back to you. So you want to help overwhelmed, or Darcy, this is very similar to yours too. So you want to help stressed out, overworked, or overwhelmed moms I think Carrie's is more exhausted. Like she's literally like, these girls are just exhausted. It's almost like a chronic exhaustion at this point. Like it's borderline, got to go see a doctor about it. Like that's different than I hate my husband or my job or my, you know what I mean? Like those are different kind of realms to be in. But like, what is the end result that she wants that will help her make that buying decision if she hears it? So having more energy is not really an end result. I think that is a benefit of the end result, but like you have to really dig into what is it that that girl wants. She wants to sleep. Like that's one of the big things that she wants, right? For Carrie's client, she wants to be able to get a good night's sleep and wake up feeling rested for the first time in, she can't even remember how long. So sleep, like I just want to get some sleep. I just want to wake up and feel rested. I want to, which is the same thing as saying I want more energy, but it's saying it in different words. You know what I mean? So just again, Carrie, make sure that when you're talking to them, just find out what is it that you want? Like what would be a huge win? If I could give you, you know, a magic wand to solve your problem, like what is it that you actually want at the end of it? And then those are the words that you're going to start figuring out how to create your offers based on. So I would say, Sama, maybe yours is end result is feeling confident in a new identity, or I think what were the words that came up? A beautiful reframe through the motherhood journey, or what's the end result? She wants to feel empowered in her new role. She wants to feel successful in this new role. She wants to feel at peace. She wants, you know, you got to figure out what it is. What's her end goal? Where does she want to go, or what does she want to feel like? Feel whole. I don't think feel whole is too woo-woo. I just think you need to know if that would resonate with your ideal client. Right? Because again, you said like broken's not the right word for her. So is whole the right word for her? I don't know. You'd have to ask her. But that's the beautiful thing. If that's another thing I want to say, and I want to stress this again about market research. You want to talk to enough people where you don't just have 3 people's opinions leading your marketing messaging or your offers, because it's not enough people. You need at least 10 people's opinions that are your ideal clients, that you have the chemistry with, that you could see yourself working with in order to start crafting your message. Because then you can start testing it out and seeing if it's attracting the right people in, because we don't want to just market towards people who are pay us for our offers. We want to market towards people that we actually want to work with. There's a huge difference there. Otherwise, you end up showing up to your calls, dreading them, not being energized, kind of, you know, you're exhausted by it, and it's just such a drag. And you just don't want that. So when we're talking about like messaging to attract and convert ideal clients, make sure that you're really focusing on the fact that not everyone needs your help, but also you don't want to help everyone. You want to help the people that you actually like. You know what I mean? Darcy, do you have any questions on any of this?
I don't think so. I'm such a feeling person and like an intuition person. So, and like I declared myself as a self-love coach. So I'm just hoping to use a lot of my own examples and what I went through and what I kind of shifted with to help with that also end decision and result, because I feel like that's who I'm going to be helping. So
well, I love that, because a lot of the time we are our ideal client just a few steps ahead.
Yeah, and I definitely yeah, you know, I know right away if I'm going to be able to work with someone. It's like the first message I know, I'm like, nope, this is not going to be long term.
Yeah. Well, there's such a big difference between somebody who wants you to do the work for them versus somebody who's doing the work in their own lives. They just need help with it, right? Especially when we're coaches, like you can't, and if you're a service-based entrepreneur and you're doing a done for you service, that's a very different vibe than attracting clients who know what their problem is and need a solution and want to run with it.
Absolutely.
And so that all factors into who you actually want to work with. Like Sama said, that's important, marketing to people that you like to work with. It's so funny how we forget that that's like a right that we have in online business. Online biz is the wild, wild west. You can do whatever you want. There are no rules. So it all depends on your integrity, your intuition, what lights you up. I always say what lights you up lights the way. So make sure that includes the clients that you're pulling in. Because if you're not lit up, like Darcy, I'm sure you've talked to Julie before, but like, I love getting on my calls with Julie because like, sometimes we end up on freaking tangents where it's like, what, but that's the best type of call, because afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, like what a piece of clarity that I would have never gotten from like a follow the bouncing ball cookie cutter frame. Like I love to just wing it, because energy, right? That's the woo piece coming in. It's like, yes, there's strategy, but there's also has to be room for energy and vibe and everything else. So anyway, I'm going on a tangent now, but Julie had said energized earlier. I think that was with respect to Carrie's offer. Like they want to feel energized. But I would say it's actually like even taking that a step further, like something that they can't even imagine at this point for Carrie's client is like, I want to feel like the Energizer Bunny. Like I want to feel like nobody can stop me. And they feel like that's so far away right now that you might like, that's another piece. Like when she's talking to real people next week for her market research, you want to find out if that's even something like a possibility for them to even think. Like I want to feel like an Energizer bunny without the monster drinks, or I want to feel like, find out how they're talking about that. I'm just using that as a random example. But so many people are exhausted. So you really got to dig into like what segment of exhausted people and moms are you going in? End result, being able to keep up with the kids. Yeah. So like the things that come to mind for me are by 5 o'clock when you're serving dinner, like afterwards, you don't need to just go lay on the couch and just recover from your day at 5:30 p.m. You have kids jumping all over you and you can't even get up to play with them, or you're outside and they're doing something so fun and you don't even want to run up the hill to, to do whatever they're doing with them, or like, so really get into like what scenarios is she living in her day-to-day life where this lack of energy is affecting her, because it is exhausting her even more, feeling so guilty about not being able to do the things she wants to do with her kids. And it makes her feel like a terrible parent. She probably feels like an exhausted, terrible wife too. Like, who knows? Like maybe you're targeting single parents though. Like maybe it's not moms, like, or maybe it's not married moms. Maybe it's just single moms. Like, so see what I mean? There's so many different people that you could be talking to. So just start to really dig in and find out like, what's the common thread? What would be the thing that these girls specifically identify with? And then I can build all the like nutrition, exercise, routines, habits around that stuff. Content for Julie says, who wants to have kids just to not have enough energy to enjoy them? Yeah, like that's not what anybody sets out to do in the first place. And sometimes it's like somebody's so overweight too that they can't even, this was a lady that I talked to once, and she was like, I'm so overweight that I can't even fit my kids on my lap. And it broke her heart every day because her kid was like 2 and wanted to sit with its mom, right? And I'm like literally 6 weeks away from having a baby. So like my 3-year-old's trying to like get rocked at night because he likes a little bedtime song, and like he can hardly fit on my lap. So now I can kind of see what she was talking about. But that's something that segment of a niche would identify with right away. Like you want to lose the weight because you want your babies to be able to sit on your lap properly without being like almost on the edge of your knees. You know what I mean? Like that's such a crazy thing for most of us to think about, but for somebody who's that overweight, that's a reality. So that's something that they would instantly identify with. So does that make sense? Jen, I don't know if I just see that you've been silent the whole time. If you have anything that you want to jump in on, yeah, please jump on in and unmute yourself or turn your camera on. I don't know if you're just listening and driving, but you don't have to. If you would like to, you're welcome to join in. I just want to make sure I get any questions answered for you before I head out. And in the meantime, does anybody else have any other questions? Oh, thanks, Sama. Do you want to see my giant belly? Oh.
Wow, congratulations. I would have had no idea if you didn't mention it.
Oh my gosh.
And you're well done. Full on, having this masterclass and going for it. Love that.
So you kind of are brand new to my world. So I host the Ambitious Mom Summit series, and it's all about like what I wanted to create was the Ambitious Mom movement, which like when Carrie was like, oh, sorry guys, I'm like dealing with my kid right now. It's like, dude, that's cool. That's what the ambitious mom movement is all about. It's about being able to show up and do your business, even though you have kids, and not feeling bad about it. I always say, like, you can have your kids in the background. This isn't corporate. I think Darcy and Julie were laughing about that one the other day. But I have childcare help because I love to be able to focus, but I can still hear what's going on. And if something's up, I can run down there. Or if my kid's sick, or if I want to take them somewhere, like I'm so flexible. I have one of my sons has brain cancer. He was diagnosed last July, so it's been just over a year. And I'm available to him. I actually was going to say at the beginning, if I take a call in the middle of this presentation, it's not because I'm being rude. It's because I always take the call from the school if they call. Sometimes he gets really bad headaches and then I just run down and pick him up. So that's just not to like, that's just to give you permission, if you're a mom too, to do your business, even though you have kids. It doesn't have to be this black and white, awful, rigid thing like we're taught when we're in corporate. That was my experience. Carrie said she found me in the CEO Mom Summit. Oh, sweet. That's cool. Like the one that was just from Kylie Kelly, that one, the pregnant CEO one.
Yeah, the one last week. That's it.
Yeah, that's cool. So Kylie actually spoke on one of my summits and then she invited me to speak on hers. So that's cool. I actually have another summit coming up next Wednesday. So it's going to be all about the leap from employee to entrepreneur. So I only do 6 speakers. So it's just a 3-hour event. If you guys want to come, it's free. Now you're on my email list. So you'll see, I'll start promoting it by tomorrow. So you're welcome to come to that. That'll be fun. We're just going to be talking about what it really takes to build like a 6-figure business online, including how many times we've failed forward. I love having just like I interview women from the perspective of like, everyone gets to listen as like a fly on the wall in the conversations that they never feel like they are privy to. So I always love to interview successful women who are crushing it online and just ask them like the real deal questions about how they're doing it. Because I just feel like when I was first starting, that's what I wanted to know. But so you create what you want. And so now that's what I want to create for everyone else. So Jen, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much for everything you've shared. I've really appreciated it, and trying to wrap my mind around how to word things. That's been a real struggle for me. I feel like I've really niched in, but the vocabulary has been a challenge, and it's just been so helpful to hear like who's my ideal client. I was one who would say, yeah, all women from the ages of 18 upward.
Yeah.
Or even now I found recently, all women from the ages. So I do retreats, and just recently in the retreats that I've done, I've had women or youth as young as 14 participate. So 14 up to, upwards. there's no end to the age. But in thinking about who is my ideal client, I've appreciated what I've heard. So mine is, and I appreciate hearing, that reference to woo. Mine is, my gifts are very spiritual in nature, and so that's what I gravitate to. And my retreats are spiritual in nature, which they are very specific to uncover your very own tender mercy moments. So in a day and age with the hustle and bustle and all the craziness of life, there's that question of, I feel like I'm alone. Am I alone? Nobody's aware of me. Nobody's mindful of me. But there is one person. That is that. For me, it's who I reference as Heavenly Father, God, that divine being in your life is fully 100% guaranteed aware of you 24/7. The question is, do we see his hand in our life? Are we mindful and aware of, do we recognize his mindfulness and awareness of us? So that is my niche. That's what I have my retreats. It's utilizing, my description is utilizing, well, actually, let me pull up my description so I get it, since I'm,
So if you're doing retreats based around recognizing the hand of the Heavenly Father in your day-to-day life is essentially what you're describing?
yeah, so the description is a fun, hands-on, interactive event utilizing the 5 senses to uncover the ways, needs, and experiences, Heavenly Father, that divine being for you, has been and is mindful and aware of you 24/7, very specific to you. So the retreat is around you, centering around you specifically, and doing activities, interactive activities in this event that draws you into recognizing and seeing that He is aware and mindful of you 24/7. When there's that question of, I feel like I'm alone, I feel isolated, I don't feel like anybody cares, anybody's aware of me, He is aware, and being able to uncover that has been exceptional, amazing, incredible, and so that's what I do. That's my niche. But narrowing down, not just ages 18 to upwards of for women, even men are like, well, how would you tailor it to us? Men and women are different, so I'm not exactly sure how I'd tailor it to men just yet. But as far as women, and what's interesting is you talk about talking to people in person. And as I've done that, I'm like, okay, here's my description. And those who have come, I said, how would you change it? How would you alter that description? And not a single person has come up with a different way to alter the verbiage. But what I found is, and I didn't know this until actually a couple days ago, that the word retreat has a negative connotation to it, whereas my experience, my entire upbringing of retreat has been positive. So people are hung up on the word retreat and the negativity that they've experienced. So I don't know how to change that wording or alter it to bring people in to experience what I offer.
I don't think there's a negative connotation around retreat. So I'm not sure who said that. Well, would you guys let's ask some of these ladies. So Sama or Carrie, Julie, if you're still watching, you can chime in. Do you have a negative connotation around the word retreat? Because sometimes, I just want to point this out, sometimes we hear an opinion from somebody and then we run with it, but it has nothing to do with our ideal client. So I talked about that a little bit at the beginning, just making sure that we're not taking everyone's opinions about it. But also one thing that I would say, instead of focusing on an age group, because now you're focusing a lot on the demographics, the common thread there is for people who are, and if you want to target women, then that's cool. So start there. But it's women, first of all, you're pulling in people who are interested or who already have, is that a certain religion, the Heavenly Father, the way you describe that? I wouldn't identify with that at all because I'm not religious. So that wouldn't,
yeah, so my faith is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that's my faith. So that's where Heavenly Father, but like I said, referencing, others referencing a God or a divine being. So it's not restricted to just my religion and those in my religion. It is open for anyone who has that desire of, am I isolated? Am I alone? Do I live in this world by myself? No, there's someone else who's aware of you. So whatever terminology that you use and whatever religion you are, whatever faith base you are, that it's coming into uncovering what is there before you that we haven't been able to see, and being able to see His hand, that divine being, God's hand in our life every single day.
Okay, so what I would just caution you on is, so first of all, the girls both said no negative connotation, and I actually gravitate towards the word retreat. That's what Carrie said. So I wouldn't get away from the word retreat. I think that explains it really well. I think a retreat is a nice place to get away and to do something for yourself. I think that's all that means to most people. So I would stick with retreat personally. But also, if you're going to be talking at the retreat a lot about the Heavenly Father and how they show up, or how it shows up in your day-to-day life, or how He shows up, His hand in your day, I think that's kind of the words you're using, then you have to make sure that you are messaging to the people who are going to come in and absolutely love that experience of discovering that and how they would apply that in their everyday life. Because if you're just saying do you feel alone? A lot of moms, we were just talking about this throughout today, a lot of moms feel burnt out, stressed out, and alone. They feel like they're by themselves in this crazy journey of motherhood. But that's going to be a very specific crowd that's also going to want to come and talk about a divine being in their day-to-day life, because that's a very,
exactly,
you know what I mean?
That's where the niche is.
Yeah, very,
Yeah,
very
so-
specific.
So you
It's
have to
very
make
specific
sure
to that.
that you're pulling that niche that will identify and self-identify with that. I didn't hear that anywhere in your messaging until you kind of explained what was happening at the retreat. So I would put that front and center.
Yeah, so that description that I just gave, the fun, hands-on, interactive event utilizing the 5 senses to uncover the ways, means, and experiences Heavenly Father has been and is mindful of you 24/7 is in the invite. So the invite that goes out to individuals, that is the description. And that is the description that I've asked attendees who have come who have loved it, how would they change it? And
why would you
they
feel like-
haven't come up with a single way to change it.
But why would you change it if they came and loved it?
Well, it's because those who are receiving the descriptions, because that connotation, so it's uncover your very own tender mercy moments mini retreat. That's the description. So it's a 3.5-hour retreat. And so it's very descriptive of that. But I guess from what I'm hearing, the feedback I'm getting is those who are apprehensive about coming and don't know anything about it are caught up on that word retreat because it's had a negative connotation. And I agree with what you were saying. As I've gone back and reflected, I'm like, well, if they're not those that are interested, that's fine, because those who are interested will gravitate to that. And those are the people that I want. So I'm not changing it. I feel like it is ideal and perfect, exact to what I do. So I appreciate hearing from those who don't even know me and you as well that have said, yeah, a retreat is, yeah, it's a positive thing. It's a relaxing thing. So I appreciate hearing that from those who don't know me as well. That
I would
so
say
I'm right now I'm going to do that.
I would say the piece that's not clear to me, but I'm not your ideal client. But the piece that's not clear to me is like finding your tender mercy moments.
So in the retreat, there's a defining what is a tender mercy moment. What is it? And then we go into uncovering that through utilizing the senses. So that could be a hang up as well, and that's the whole premise of the retreat is learning what that is and how do I if that makes any sense. Like a tender mercy moment is Heavenly Father's hand in our lives. It's those beautiful things that show up in our lives. Like what was recently shared, somebody was going from, it had an immediate emergency to get to the hospital and all the lights were green. That was a tender mercy. That is the whole retreat, is uncovering what those are in your life that you don't recognize and see, that Heavenly Father, God, divine being, is aware and mindful of you. And here was this beautiful thing that it's through these different things that we do, these hands-on interactive things that we do that draw out, oh yeah, the light, the green, they see something that reminds them of the lights and how they were all green. And it's this aha moment for them that they didn't recognize in the moment, was his awareness and mindfulness of them needing to get to the hospital as quickly as possible. And opened up the way. So
what I would add is, I don't understand what a tender mercy moment is. And I think probably a lot of people that are just coming into this, that are brand new, probably don't either. But you did say the words uncover. I think it was something along the lines of uncover the small. It's uncover. Yeah, it's uncover your very own tender mercy moment. No. But what those that are yours, yeah. But Jen, just wait. What I'm trying to tell you is, for somebody who doesn't know what is going to happen in the retreat, that doesn't mean anything to them, right? Right. Like if they don't already know and they're not already invested in the fact that the tender mercy moments are the things that we actually need to recognize in life, then we need to find different words to speak to them, to pull them into this retreat so that we can teach them about tender mercy moments. So, and that's why I'm here. Yeah, this is exactly what I meant earlier. This is like a perfect example of giving them what they want instead of what we know they need. Because you're going to be able to deliver that and teach them about that inside your retreat. But how do we want them to come there? We want to help them do something like uncover the small signs or moments in your daily life that make you I'm just going to like spitball this, but like make you realize that you are not alone walking this journey or in this, through this life, or do you know what I mean? We have to find a word. Like we need to nail the messaging in terms of what are the words that somebody's going through on a day-to-day life that this would be like, oh, I would love to go to a little retreat, a mini retreat and learn about uncovering, you know, or not feeling alone, or you know what I mean? Like that might not be the right thing, but if you pull tender mercy moments like that, that doesn't mean anything to anybody who doesn't already know what you're going to be doing.
And that's what I appreciate. Thank you so, so much, because it's something that I'm familiar with. I know what it is, but
Yeah.
I'm coming into learning that others don't know what that is. And so the name is not drawing people in. It's a curiosity of, well, what is that? And so, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No, but this is another good point that I want to talk about, just because you brought it up. It's like we need to be clear, not clever, with our titles, because everyone says like you want to pique curiosity, but it's like you want to be super clear so that somebody is even curious in the first place. Does that make sense?
And I thought that was clear because I understood it for myself.
Right.
I didn't know that that was terminology that others did not know or understand. And that's what I'm coming into. So sometimes I think we can use a word, like think about doctors. Doctors will use a word they're familiar with, and we're sitting there as a patient going, I have no idea what you're saying. Can you please, you know, speak it in terminology that I can understand? That's what I'm coming into realizing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would go out and I would talk to, you already have a bunch of people who have attended your retreats. You could start with them, and just say like, what was it that you were coming into this retreat hoping to discover about yourself, or to find, or to get help with, and just see what the words were that they are using, to describe what they were hoping to get. And then we can target your title a lot more clearly towards something that somebody thought they were struggling with, even though they walked away with this totally different understanding of the tender mercy moments throughout the day.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
So, and I would not let people tell you to get hung up on the word retreat. I think it's a great word.
Well, it's the only one that it encompasses. Even at the end, those attendees, I've said, okay, with that description, now you've attended, you've seen it from start to finish. How would you change it? And the description is exactly what. It's exactly what. But like you're saying, it's that word tender mercy moments. Well, what is this? I'm curious. I don't know what it is.
What about
so it's not
how to appreciate the little things in life so you know you're not walking it alone?
Yeah, and I think those are both elements are key. Both elements of that are key to what you just said. That we are not alone. We are not isolated. We're not alone. We may feel like we live in a pool of, you know, thousands, millions of people, and you do feel alone, but there is one being, at least one being, for sure, guaranteed one being that is aware and mindful, because we came from, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would say that your title, like your tagline, it's fairly descriptive. Like I understood like about the 5 senses, but the very first piece, which is your topic, like your main title, needs to be something that hooks them in terms of what they want. So recognizing the little things in your daily life so that you know you're not walking it alone. Because walking it alone also implies that like kind of religious connotation. So you're already pulling in the right people that are like, I don't want to feel alone. I want to be grateful. I want to recognize things in my day-to-day life that, you know, that make me feel at peace or happy or loved, or like, so you want to go after that type of a title as opposed to the discovering your tender mercy moments, but unless somebody really understood what that was, they won't click.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Could I combine it? So like I said, recognizing the little things in your daily life so you know you are not walking this journey alone, with a little, to the side, uncovering your very own tender mercy moments. So it kind of draws them into that median. Go ahead.
You would just stop right there. Right after tender mercy moments, you would just stop, because that's your title and your tagline.
Okay, say that again, because I missed it.
So exactly what
Say
you
what
just
you just said.
recognizing the small things in your day-to-day life. I think you said this is recorded, so you can go back and listen to the exact words you used, but you nailed it. Recognizing the little signs and the little signs in your day-to-day life, so you know you're not walking it alone. That's your title. And then your tag is going to be uncovering your tender mercy moments. I can't remember exactly how you worded it. And then that's your title and your tagline. And then once they're like interested, now you've piqued curiosity, because they're like, well, I want to know that I'm not walking it alone, and I'm looking for the little signs, and I would love to know how to do that more. But what's a tender mercy moment? Now you've created the curiosity that you wanted. And now they're going to come and you're going to say, here are the 3 things that we're going to learn in this mini retreat, or that you'll learn or you'll walk away with. And then you can get into the 5 senses and you can get into the rest of it, but that doesn't all need to be jumbled into the start. You know what I mean?
Okay. So initially you start with something that they can relate to,
Yes.
little things that they see in their daily life, not walking this journey alone, and then incorporating or bringing in, uncovering your very own tender mercy moments, which is that piquing that curiosity. So here they have a pain point that they're hurting, they feel like they're alone, they're isolated, so that addresses that. Then they've got the curiosity of, well, what exactly is this, to want to draw them in to attend.
Right.
Gotcha. This has been so helpful.
Julie just said, boom, you've just been married. I love that. Yeah, so what I would say is that's your title and tagline, because it's clear and it's giving some curiosity about, and then you could have somewhere else, if this is going to be online or whatever, where you're going to say, here are the 3 things that you're going to learn or discover or walk away with or whatever. And then you can talk about, you can explain a little more. But I think that the hook has already happened, which is what you want.
Right. And I think with that description too, in the invites, you've got the title that is addressing what their pain point is or what their concern is, and boom, they're like, okay, I'm interested. Now they've got the tagline, which is that curiosity, and then they have the description that talks about the hands-on interactive things that are going to happen to uncover what those are for them.
Yeah, and I would even put like that it's a what did you call it? 3-hour mini
retreat.
I
Yeah.
would put that in the description, not the title or tag.
You said in the description you would include the 3.5-hour mini retreat. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, I would say in this 3.5-hour mini retreat, you will learn, or you will walk away with, and then I would give like 3 bullet points.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for your experience and being ahead of me in this regard. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Okay, are you clear? Is that better?
I believe so. I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
No, I
Thank
think
you.
I think with the tender mercy moments, it is exactly what you're going to deliver, but you are too close to it as the expert, because most people don't know that that's what they want or need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been those who have attended, and I just started this in June, those who have attended have walked away and really enjoyed the experience and have said, I have a gift. And it's all in the wording. So when you send out that email, I'm like, I need to figure this wording out. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that that's what you're actually teaching and giving them inside. I think it's just, we get confused sometimes as marketers about how we should pull people in, because we're so close to it and because we're so passionate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm grateful to be open and receptive to help, because I say that all the time. I'm like, I need help. I need help. I cannot do this by myself. I can't do it alone. I need help, because I don't know, like you're saying, you can present something that is a need, but what do they want? And it is presenting and it's wording it in a way that says, I do want that. One, I do need it. And I think that niching it down like I have, there is that need of not feeling alone, not feeling isolated, and being able to take something that's tangible, well, initially intangible, and then when they walk away as they leave the retreat, they have something they can take with them, and on a daily basis go, okay, how am I noticing Heavenly Father's awareness and mindfulness of me today, and paying attention to that and going, there's his hand, even through the green light. And that is empowering and just incredible and amazing. And I love what I hear back, the experiences that I hear back from those who have left the retreat, and those personalized tender mercy moments that they're having in their life. It's really amazing and awesome. Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Does anyone else have questions? I know Sama said she had to run. She had to go get lunch organized. I think I'm going to wrap it if everybody's clear. Oh, she's back. Do you have any final questions, Sama? Oh, I can't hear you.
I was just saying that I'll just watch the recording on what I just missed.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Well, ladies, thank you. If you have obviously any questions, just get into my DMs. I love to voice note back and forth. So if you still have questions about anything we talked about today, or you're not quite clear on your ideal client or where to find her, all those things, then let me know and I can point you in the right direction. But thanks for coming. I hope this was helpful. And I'll sign off, but I will see you either in my Facebook group or online, or maybe at the Ambitious Mom Summit coming up next Wednesday. Okay, ladies, have a great day. We will talk soon. Cheers.